Welcome to the Deep Dive podcast channel. Have you ever had that feeling maybe you nail a presentation, get that promotion, people are, singing your praises, and yet deep down there's this little voice whispering, any minute now, they're going to figure out I'm just faking it.
Oh, that's a remarkably common experience. Absolutely. And it's exactly what we're exploring today, imposter syndrome. It's more than just a bit of self-doubt. It's this persistent inner belief that you're somehow a fraud, despite all the evidence, showing your competence, your achievements. It's a real thing. And it affects a huge number of people.
It really is striking, isn't it? You see these incredibly accomplished individuals, people you'd think are brimming with confidence, who secretly carry these feelings. It kind of challenges our ideas about what confidence even looks like. Some estimates suggest, over 70% of us feel this way at some point. Makes you think about the hidden struggles.
Absolutely, yeah. From CEOs to doctors, artists, students just starting out, imposter syndrome doesn't really care about your external success level. It's a significant internal landscape we're planning to dive into today. Our aim is really to unpack the core of these doubts and, importantly, explore some empowering ways to move towards, genuine self-trust.
Yeah, building that trust. And if this topic resonates with you, maybe if you've grappled this yourself or you're just curious why so many people feel this way, we really encourage you to subscribe for more deep dives into, understanding ourselves and the world around us. And as always, we'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences down in the comments section.
So let's get into this feeling of being a fraud. It's not just like a passing thought. It can genuinely impact how we see our successes, how willing we are to even try new things. At its heart is this really powerful fear. I don't really belong here. And it's only a matter of time before they all see it.
It feels so vulnerable just to say that out loud, doesn't it? That constant feeling of being on the edge of exposure. And while the feeling itself might be ancient, the actual term imposter syndrome, that has a specific origin, right?
It does, yes. The term imposter phenomenon, as it was first called, came from psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes back in 1978. Their initial work focused mostly on high-achieving women who, despite, clear objective success, felt like intellectual frauds. But since then, our understanding has definitely broadened. We know it affects people from all walks of life, all genders.
It's so interesting that sometimes the more someone achieves, the stronger these feelings of doubt can become. You'd think each success would kind of cement their confidence, but apparently not always.
Exactly. That's the paradox. For someone experiencing imposter syndrome, success can actually stir up more internal conflict. Each win might get brushed off as, oh, I got lucky, or they made a mistake, or I charmed my way through. It doesn't necessarily chip away at that core feeling of inadequacy. It can almost reinforce the fear of the eventual big reveal.
Can you maybe paint a clearer picture? Like, who are we talking about here? Just to show how widespread it really is.
Sure. Think about, say, a CEO who consistently hits targets, drives growth, or a surgeon performing these incredibly complex life-saving operations, maybe an artist whose work gets rave reviews, sells out galleries, or even that student, top of their class, graduating from a really prestigious university. Despite all that external proof, all the validation, they might still be wrestling internally with this feeling that they're just not truly capable, that their success is somehow unearned, a fluke.
It's like there are these invisible currents pulling them down, these underlying factors feeding the feeling. What are some of the main drivers behind imposter syndrome?
Well, there are several things, often interconnected. Perfectionism is a big one. It's this relentless drive, this need for everything to be absolutely flawless. It often comes from a deep belief that, only perfect is okay, nothing less. And this creates a very fragile sense of self-worth, because mistakes, which are, totally normal part of learning, get seen as absolute proof of incompetence.
Right. So a simple mistake isn't just a mistake. It's like confirmation. See, I told you I wasn't good enough.
Precisely. Then there's shame, which is a much deeper, often quieter layer. And it's important here to differentiate shame from guilt. Guilt is about an action, I did something wrong. Shame is more fundamental. It's about the self, I am fundamentally wrong, flawed.
Oh, that feels much heavier.
It is. Because early messages we get, maybe subtle things, maybe direct things like you're too sensitive, or you're not trying hard enough, or why can't you be more like me? These can lead to this internalized shame that sort of gets lodged in our nervous system. And when shame is there, the visibility that comes with success can feel incredibly threatening. It's like standing in a spotlight, feeling like everyone can see this flaw you believe is at your core.
And it's not just those explicit messages, is it? Childhood conditioning, just the general environment can play a huge role too. How does that fit in?
Definitely. For some people, love or approval in childhood might have felt conditional, like it was tied to achievements or good behavior or meeting expectations. It wasn't necessarily this consistent, unconditional thing. And that can lead to this core belief forming. I have to perform, I have to achieve to be worthy of love, of acceptance. This kind of early setup creates really fertile ground for imposter syndrome later on because your self-worth feels like it always depends on the next performance.
Wow. So you learn that your value isn't inherent, it's something you have to constantly earn.
Exactly. And that sets up this lifelong pattern, potentially of trying to prove yourself, striving and striving, but it never quite silences that inner voice saying you're a fraud.
And our thinking habits, the way our minds work, those cognitive patterns, they also fuel this whole thing, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. Imposter syndrome really thrives on what psychologists call cognitive distortions.
Yeah.
These are basically skewed, unhelpful ways of thinking that warp how we see events, ourselves, our abilities.
Can you give us some examples? What do these thinking traps actually sound like?
Sure. A really common one is all or nothing thinking, that black and white view. If I'm not absolutely perfect, I'm a total failure. There's no gray area, no room for just being good. Another big one is discounting the positive. So when someone experiencing this gets praise or achieves something, they just brush it off. They'll say, oh, that doesn't count. I just got lucky, or anyone could have done that, or they're just being nice. They don't internalize it.
Right, it's like positive feedback just bounces right off them, can't sink in.
Exactly. And then there's mind reading, assuming you know what others are thinking, and usually assuming it's negative. So you might think, they probably think, I have no idea what I'm doing, even with zero actual evidence. These distorted thoughts are often amplified by, well, what we often call the inner critic.
Ah, yes, the inner critic, that lovely internal radio station playing all our worst fears on repeat.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, the inner critic is like this harsh commentator inside our heads. It often echoes criticisms or pressures from our past, maybe parents, teachers, society. And a classic line from the inner critic, especially with imposter syndrome, is that question, who do you think you are? It's that voice trying to keep you small, keep you from owning your successes.
It sounds absolutely exhausting, having that constant internal battle raging, and it must create this real disconnect, this dissonance between how you feel inside and how the world actually sees you. Is that identity dissonance?
Precisely. Identity dissonance is that real psychological discomfort you feel when there's a gap between your internal reality feeling inadequate, like a fraud, and the external reality of your accomplishments and the positive feedback you're getting.
What are the consequences? What does this internal conflict actually do to someone's life?
Well, it can show up in lots of ways. Anxiety is really common.
Yeah.
Burnout, too, from that constant pressure to overperform, to prove yourself, to avoid being found out. People might withdraw socially, fearing judgment if people get too close. Or they might just constantly second-guess every decision. Ultimately, it takes a huge toll on well-being. It can stop people from actually enjoying the success they have achieved.
It really sounds like being stuck in performance mode 24/7, always trying to earn your spot, which brings up that interesting contrast you mentioned between constantly performing and, well, just belonging.
Yes, exactly. Imposter syndrome often gets worse in environments, workplaces, families, even cultures that really emphasize performance and external validation above everything else. You feel like you constantly have to prove you deserve to be there. And this can be especially intense for people from marginalized groups or those with trauma histories who might have had experiences where they genuinely did have to fight harder for recognition or safety.
So it's not purely internal then. The environment, our past experiences, they really shape this feeling.
Absolutely. It's an interaction. True belonging, on the other hand, that's different. It's not about earning your place every single day. It's about feeling inherently worthy, accepted for who you are, flaws and all, without needing that facade, that constant striving for approval.
And you touched on trauma earlier, how it can deepen these imposter feelings. Can you expand on that connection a bit?
Yeah, it's a really important link. Trauma, as we understand it now, isn't just a mental event. It gets stored in the body. It can actually rewire the nervous system to be hypervigilant, always scanning for threats. And those threats aren't just physical. They can be emotional, like criticism, rejection, failure. So even when you're objectively safe and competent, your body might still be sending out these danger signals. Watch out. Don't get too visible. It's not safe.
Wow, that's powerful. Thinking of it as almost a neurobiological response, the body reacting as if it's still in danger.
Exactly. It reframes the experience, doesn't it? It suggests that these feelings of doubt might not be a logical assessment of your current reality, but maybe an echo of the past, a nervous system pattern. Seeing it this way can foster more self-compassion. It's not a personal failing. It might be more like a wound that needs care.
And self-compassion feels like such a crucial piece of this puzzle. The antidote, maybe.
It really is fundamental.
Yeah.
Self-compassion and Dr. Krista Neff's work here is just brilliant. It's basically about treating yourself with the same kindness, the same understanding you'd offer a good friend who is struggling. It's the direct counter-message to that harsh inner critic.
Can you break down what self-compassion actually involves? What are the key parts?
Sure. There are three core components. First is mindfulness. Just noticing your difficult thoughts and feelings like inadequacy or fear without judging them or trying to push them away. Just acknowledging, okay, this feeling is here.
Mm-hmm.
Second is common humanity. Recognizing that suffering and feelings of inadequacy are part of the shared human experience. You're not alone in feeling this way. So many people do. And third is self-kindness. Actively choosing to be gentle and supportive toward yourself when you are suffering or feeling inadequate, instead of attacking yourself with criticism.
Okay, so instead of that inner critic screaming, "You fraud!" a self-compassionate response might sound more like,
Yeah, exactly. It might be something like, wow, I'm feeling really insecure right now, and that's tough. It's okay to feel scared. Lots of people feel this way sometimes. How can I be kind to myself in this moment?
yeah.
It's a really profound shift in your internal relationship.
It sounds like it creates a much safer internal space.
Oh, yeah.
And thinking about actively changing these patterns, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, that's often mentioned as a tool, right?
Yes, CBT offers really practical techniques. It helps you identify those automatic negative thoughts, those cognitive distortions we talked about that fuel imposter syndrome. Then it teaches you to challenge them, to actually examine the evidence. Is this thought really true? What's the counter evidence? And finally, to consciously replace them with more balanced, realistic, and helpful thoughts.
Could you walk us through a quick example? How does that catch, challenge, change process work?
Okay, let's say the automatic thought pops up. I totally bombed that meeting. They must think I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
The catch is noticing that thought. The challenge is asking, okay, did I really bomb it? What parts went okay? What specific feedback did I get? Is it possible they didn't think that at all?
Mm.
Then the change might be something like, okay, maybe one part didn't go perfectly, but overall was fine. I contributed some good points. It's unlikely everyone thought I was an idiot based on that one moment. I can learn from this.
Hmm.
Practicing this consistently really can help rewire those old neural pathways. It takes effort, but it works.
It's like mental weight training, retraining those thought muscles. And you also stressed the body's role earlier. How do somatic body-based practices help with imposter syndrome?
Right, because as we said, these feelings are often linked to nervous system responses and experiences held in the body. So somatic practices help us reconnect with our physical sensations, learn to regulate our nervous system when it gets activated by stress or fear, and cultivate a deeper sense of safety and presence right here, right now.
What kind of somatic practices are we talking about? Are there specific examples?
Yeah, some are very simple. Grounding exercises, for instance. Just consciously feeling your feet on the floor, noticing the support beneath you, tuning into your senses, what you see, hear, feel right now. That can anchor you in the present. Tapping, or EFT emotional freedom techniques, involves tapping on specific acupressure points while tuning into difficult feelings or beliefs. It can be surprisingly effective for releasing emotional intensity. And various forms of breath work are fantastic for calming the nervous system, shifting out of that fight or flight mode that often fuels anxiety and imposter feelings. These aren't quick fixes, mind you. It's about building body awareness and resilience over time.
So it's tackling it from both ends, the mind and the body. And connection with others seems to keep coming up too. That sounds vital.
It really is. So much healing happens in relationship. When we connect with people who see us, who value us for who we are, not just what we do, it directly challenges those old, ingrained beliefs about not being good enough.
So opening up, sharing these vulnerable feelings with trusted people, that can actually break the isolation.
Absolutely. Imposter syndrome thrives in secrecy and isolation. Having mentors who admit they've struggled with doubt too, finding peers who get it, being part of a community where it's okay to be vulnerable, all of that disrupts the narrative that you're the only one feeling this way. It normalizes the struggle.
And the ultimate aim then is moving from that pervasive self-doubt towards,
Ugh.
well, towards self-trust. What does that actually mean and how do we build it?
Self-trust. It's that quiet inner knowing that you can handle things. That even when stuff gets uncertain or difficult, you have the inner resources to navigate it. It's not built overnight. It's built through small, consistent actions, like keeping promises you make to yourself, celebrating your effort, not just the outcome, learning to honor your own needs and set boundaries. Each time you do these things, you build evidence for your own reliability. your own capability. And as that internal validation grows, you become less dependent on external praise or approval.
So it's like shifting the source of validation from outside to inside.
Exactly. And when that shift happens, it can lead to a whole new definition of success. Instead of chasing the next achievement to feel worthy, success starts to feel more like feeling integrated, feeling aligned with your values, feeling free from that constant need to prove yourself.
So true success isn't just the external trophy case. It's more about that internal feeling of wholeness, congruence.
That's a great way to put it. Internal congruence, where your inner sense of worth isn't tied to constant striving, and where vulnerability isn't seen as weakness, but just part of being human, that feeling. That's really the end of imposter syndrome's grip. It's the beginning of living more authentically.
This has been so insightful, a really helpful exploration of something so many people experience. As we wrap up our deep dive, what's the most important takeaway you'd want listeners to hold on to?
I think the biggest thing is this. Feeling like an imposter is not a reflection of your actual abilities. It's not a character flaw. It's often a symptom of past experiences, societal pressures, ingrained thought patterns, nervous system responses, and healing, moving towards self-trust. It is possible through self-awareness, through practices that support your mind and body, and by consciously choosing presence over performance.
And remembering that self-compassion along the way.
Absolutely crucial. Be kind to yourself through it all. Remember, you are not a fraud. You are a whole human being, and it's absolutely safe and okay for you to take up space.
Wonderful. Now, we did gather a few common questions that often come up around this topic. Maybe we can tackle those quickly.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay, first one. Can imposter syndrome ever go away completely?
That's a common question. For some people, maybe not 100% vanish forever, but its power, its impact can definitely lessen significantly. With awareness, tools, self-compassion, it doesn't have to run the show anymore.
Right. Is imposter syndrome the same as just having low self-esteem?
Not quite, though they can overlap. A key difference is that people with imposter syndrome often appear outwardly confident, successful even, but internally feel like a fraud. Low self-esteem tends to be a more general, pervasive feeling of lacking worth, often more visible externally too.
Okay. Are there specific therapies that are particularly helpful?
Yes, definitely. We mentioned CVT, which is great for tackling the thought patterns. Somatic therapies are crucial for the body nervous system piece. IFS, or internal family systems, can be really helpful for understanding the inner critic part. And any trauma-informed approach is valuable if trauma is part of the picture.
Got it. Does everyone with trauma experience imposter syndrome?
Not automatically, no. But trauma, especially things like early emotional neglect or growing up in very critical or high-pressure environments, can certainly make someone more vulnerable to developing it. It creates that fertile ground we talked about.
Makes sense. How can people stop comparing themselves to others? That seems like a big trigger.
Oh, it is. A few things help. Consciously practice internal validation. Focus on your progress, your values. Limit exposure to things that trigger comparison, like maybe certain social media feeds. And actively practice gratitude for your own unique path and strengths.
Good practical tips. Lastly, can workplaces actually do anything to help reduce imposter syndrome?
Oh, absolutely. Workplaces play a huge role, fostering psychological safety, making it okay to speak up, make mistakes, be vulnerable is massive. Providing clear, constructive feedback, offering mentorship, promoting based on clear criteria, not just who shouts loudest. All these things create an environment where imposter feelings are less likely to thrive.
Thank you so much. This has been incredibly illuminating, really digging deep into something I know touches so many of our listeners.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah.
Such an important conversation.
And for you, our listeners, maybe something to ponder as you go about your week. What might shift for you in your life, in your work, if you started to meet your achievements, big or small, with a little more self-acceptance? If you started to truly believe in your inherent worth, separate from what you accomplish?
That's a wonderful question to sit with.
Until our next deep dive, thank you so much for joining us.